that Russia can put people in,
Right.
much like our president.
Exactly. So here we have a real issue where up until June of that year, Trump had been sort of operating on this idea that this is so weird. Oh, good. We're up on YouTube now. Look at that.
Yeah.
Fixed it. I'm so excited. Hey, hi, chat room. So, so the question was, why did they lie? My feeling is that that Trump, after he had won, decided, oh well, I'm going to get to carry this this deal through. I'm gonna get a chance to make this thing happen. I've allegedly separated my business interests from myself, right?
My kids are gonna run it.
Yeah, so if Don Jr. and Beavis can, take over the company, they will be able to make this happen. Because, I mean, honestly, they even have the hairdos. Honestly, Beavis and Butthead grew up to be Trump's sons. I mean, it's hilarious.
Seriously, and the Beavis one really looks like he got his head caught in a paint shaker for fun.
Oh, what? Paint shaker. I kind of love that. So here's the thing. The ongoing lying has to do with the fact that they thought this deal was going to get to continue going through. And the only way it goes through is if the sanctions end and the bank that he wants to get the financing from for his tower, and by the way, for lots of other projects, because let's not forget the Deutsche Bank connections and the fact that the Russians have been attempting to launder money through Trump Tower and other places for ages, and that the Magnitsky Act runs afoul of that. It makes it very hard for them to do that. And so by getting, the ability to, to rescind those sanctions, that opens up business opportunities and a world of financing options for the Trump organization at the same time he is president, which, violates the Emoluments Clause, is in effect a criminal act against the United States, is clearly not what the founders wanted for all these, Federalist Society Republicans who would like to pat themselves on the back for, having this kind of fantasy idea that they really stand for what the founders wanted back in the day. What they certainly didn't want was a monarchical ruler who ignores the separations of powers that are so important to the existence of the country and enriches himself in the process. So this is the ongoing lie, the lie that came up that was supposedly hidden behind their relationship to, like that that Flynn lied to Mike Pence, that's why he got fired. Why the continued lying, and why, would they ultimately coordinate lies? The only logical reason, and what looks like from the Cohen filing this week that Mueller has, is that they were attempting to move forward with the removal of sanctions, not because they thought the United States wanted to have a better relationship with Russia than it had under the Obama administration or it would have had under Clinton, but so that they would benefit financially and be able to have business deals going on all during the presidency. Now, once the Russian hack came out, the story is that Felix Sater and Michael Cohen were coordinating this stuff on behalf of Trump, keeping him abreast of the entire situation. They had their marching orders early, even before he announced his candidacy. And so they never had to ask permission or get any of those things. Although I believe we will see some Michael Cohen recordings coming forward. Which will be glorious.
They will be glorious because that dude knows how to hit record.
Oh my gosh! So the reality.
He looks really proud, by the way, and all those walking in and out of the courtroom. Like, I'm not going to call him a patriot, but I think he's a lot more at ease with his current position.
Well, he's not looking at as much jail time. Frankly, I mean, he is found.
And if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.
Yeah, that's true. It's much easier to keep your statement straight when you're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And I think he's found a way out. He's and Trump stepped on him with a big wet foot and called him weak and all these other things, and has been basically distancing himself from day one from Cohen, who viewed himself as this sort of loyal lapdog. I would take a bullet for Mr. Trump. And
Trump really picked the wrong guy to dismiss.
Yeah, it's
just out of spite.
Do not kick your consigliere down a flight of stairs while he is holding a box of your of documents relating to your criminal activities. He will simply just spill them out onto the street and go, "They're all for you guys. I don't care. I used to love Mr. Trump. I would have taken a bullet for Mr. Trump, but apparently he chose me over chose a bucket of chicken over me." And that's how it goes. So the ongoing lying had to do with the fact that they were considering that once these sanctions got done, Don Jr. and Eric, who I believe all these the coordinated statements that you've heard from Cohen and the conversations between Sater and him that in their texts point to the fact that the intention was that Don Jr. and Eric would continue this deal after the fact. That they would, that they were.
Why not?
Yeah, I've separated myself. I have no deals with Russia. My
Kids
sons
have a great time.
My sons have all this money from Russia, like Don Jr. said, but it's not even. So, the point is that even if they decided to put a pin in it temporarily, most big projects like this can take, decades to get off the ground. So the idea that he would just kind of bite his lip for 4 years, hand Russia pretty much anything it wanted, get rid of the sanctions, do whatever he could to undermine the U.S. position against Russia, both in the UN, with NATO, against Ukraine, all these financial benefits that Russia would gain simply from him being a spoiler during this time would far outweigh the investment in letting him build a Moscow tower. So after his presidency, if he's not in jail, expect it.
Yep.
If Trump doesn't go to jail, there will be a Moscow Trump tower. It might be the only Trump tower with Trump's name still on it anywhere in the world, but it will happen. And that's because this is the trade. This is what he's getting.
Yep.
So, we have to take a break. We'll be back right after this. And we will talk a little bit about the passing of George H.W. Bush, and just the response that I think the presidents are giving, and sort of contrasting how he's being treated by Trump versus, let's say, John McCain, and why I think that is. We'll be back right after this. And hi, chat room. Glad we caught up with you guys, and I'm glad you can hear Johnny now. We'll be back. Hi, Julie, and thank you, Natalie. I just saw that. Appreciate it. I don't hear music from Chicago, but I'm assuming we went to break. I think. Possibly. Could be. I don't know. Let's see. I'm wondering about Trump's reaction to, considering the animosity between them. I think, well, we'll figure that. Thank you, Brad. It's nice to be back. It really is. Don't forget to thumbs up and like it, please. Yeah, I appreciate it too. Thank you, Charles. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show. Give it a thumbs up on the episode. That really helps us out. Yeah. You guys with your super chat love today, like that's it. I feel very welcome. That I'm humbled. Thank you so much. Let's see, and tweet out the link if you can right now. go. I am very glad to be home. Although I had a lovely time in China. I really did. And it was one of those experiences where I was there for a month. It felt like a year, and then it was over in a flash. It's kind of like summer camp, you know. When you're there and you're away from home and you're thinking about that stuff, you're like, oh my God, how long have I been here? And then the last day you're like, wow, feels like I just flew in. I'm glad the stream is strong because YouTube is telling me it isn't, and Mimo Live.
Hal, we're going to be back in 15 seconds.
Okay, great. Bad he did far outweigh the good. Yeah, I would agree. That us. Welcome back to the show. I think Johnny Million, are you there? I don't hear you, but I'm gonna assume you are. George H.W. Bush passed away last night at the age of 94. He certainly, in sort of the realm of presidents in my lifetime, I just turned 18 right before his election, and I think making it the first person I ever voted for, I voted against him. I voted for Dukakis in that because as a Democrat, that's what I did. And I felt like there was a lot of problems with the Reagan administration, and a lot of them led back to George H.W. Bush. Those problems, though, were strictly political. They were not so much personal. And I was probably unaware as a young voter at the time how much kind of tug and pull and animosity there was between Bush and Reagan. He was not his initial choice. They were against each other. He had called, trickle-down economics voodoo economics, or as as we learned about it in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, something DOO economics. And in watching that kind of tension between a vice president and a president, and then that vice president running after him, I remember very distinctly having this moment of like, when Dukakis was the main guy, I had one of those early branding realizations that there is no President Dukakis. With the last name Dukakis, automatically, yes, that's right, James, it was Ben Stein, and Nixon's speechwriter and Republican apologist Ben Stein as the history teacher. And that was no accident, by the way, his casting. But in the process of it, I remember saying Bush is probably going to win because there's just, Dukakis looked like an SCTV character to me in a lot of ways. He didn't exude strength. His grasp of policy was intellectual but not inspiring. There was all these aspects to it. Didn't stop me from voting for him because I didn't like Bush's history with the CIA. I didn't like his relationship to, and acquiescing to the Reagan economic theory over time. And I think a lot of people agreed. And so that's what led Bill Clinton to, ousting him after a single term. There was, as much as people relate the movie Wag the Dog to the Clinton presidency, the seed of it was planted with the initial Iraq War under George Herbert Walker Bush, and the idea that we did that to draw attention away from problems in his presidency at the time. But in doing so, I very distinctly remember people, praying for the end of the war and having a very strong reaction to it, and it being, I think, somewhere between 11 and 17 days, depending on how you viewed his how you viewed when it actually started and when our engagement legitimately began. In the case of, George H.W. Bush, he had a much more pragmatic attitude towards Middle East conflict, certainly, than his son did. And George W. Bush, famously known as as Barbara's kid, Jeb being his dad's son, insofar as temperament and ideology and the like, or he was governor of South. Oh, I think we're back. Okay, good. So I guess the